Hey, welcome to another adventure in old code. Well, not today. Today will be another adventure in not no code, but new code? I don't know. If you'll recall, last time I wrote a small program to randomly pick one of our directories for my next episode, and that was quite exciting because I absolutely had no idea what was coming next. And I thought maybe I might expand on that so that I would have to do even less work. I'll show you what I mean. Oh, 1 second here. So not that you guys care, but whenever I do my title screens, I wrote this program to just do it. So you'll recognize this as the title screen for episode 34. And every time I make a new episode, I come in here and I fiddle with the values and then recompile it into an exe file and then run it. But I thought, what if I had some program that was all-encompassing, where I would run it, and what it would do is it would randomly pick the next episode for me, ask me if I want to do it, and then when I say yes, not randomly, but to actually generate the title screen, and then keep track of everything I've done, and if we need to continue an episode, account for that, and all sorts of fantastic things. And so that's what I did this weekend. I started on Friday evening, and I just finished today. Today is Monday afternoon. And I learned a few things, because obviously I wrote this program in QBasic, because why not? That's what we're doing. So I just want to take you through that process a bit, and it was very eye-opening to me. So here it is. Already you can see just absolute madness and chaos. The issue is, okay, let's take a step back here. Let's go to Laser Game. So Laser Game was a fun game. It was nice. It wasn't, it's simple, but it's not dead simple. But we had a lot of code in the main routine. We had a few subroutines, but they didn't really do a whole lot, except display text and do a few things. So it's broken up a little bit into modules, but most of the stuff happens in the main routine, and we can go through it line by line, and everything's fine. I just want to show you when we actually come here and open this up in a text editor. Let's do that. Good, Laser Game. Let's open it up in a text editor. This is actually what the file is. So this looks familiar. We can see a lot more of the text, but look at this. Sub, autopsy, all the subroutines are actually part of the same file, which isn't very surprising because these are all single files that we're dealing with. But when I decided to write my program that would do all this randomly choosing episodes for me and generating the title, I came at it from a modern perspective, and I'll show you what I mean. This is a personal project that I work on sometimes for the last years. It's called Battle Elimination, and I won't go into the details, but it's a .NET program, a library actually, that will keep track of competitions, certain two-player competitions where two players fight and one wins, and deciding who gets to advance and who has lost, or who gets to try again, and all that stuff. It's an algorithm I designed years ago, and anyway, I made a library in .NET to to keep track of all this, and it has nothing to do with the battle. It's battle agnostic. It just has a vague concept of what a battle is, that there should be a winner and a loser. People using this library can implement their own battles and run anyway. Doesn't matter the details, but this entire directory here along the side, this directory tree is all this one program. And you can see it's filled with files. Like they just keep coming and coming and coming. I mean, there are hundreds of files in here. And this program isn't even really doing all that much. A lot of them are small. You can see here, like it's only 9 lines. But this is the kind of the philosophy these days to take a large project. This is a bit longer, but it's still only 60 lines. But take a big project and split it up into very, very small chunks. And these small chunks can be tested as objects unto their own. And so if you're certain a little piece works, then you can start putting the little pieces together and ensure that the whole thing works, rather than having them all in one giant mess and, oh, something's wrong. Where did it go wrong? Well, now we can sort of pinpoint in which file went wrong and all these sorts of things. But I got ELO calculations here. Anyway, so it's lots of files is what I'm saying. And take a look at these variable names. You know, they're long, they're fully spelled out. Elimination state store. It's almost a run-on sentence sometimes, the variable names and the method names. And so that's just what you do in this day and age, because I mean, we have nice wide screens. We can make these things as descriptive as possible. Anyway, this is not the subject of today's episode, this program. I just want to show you the ridiculous amount of files. And yeah, see, they just keep going and going and going. And so, some of these things you can't even make any sense. You know, make sense of that, right? That one's kind of small. Anyway, so lots of files, and inside the files we have very descriptive variable names, and we have nice wide screens, and we can navigate through these, and it increases efficiency, and everything's awesome until you get a guy today who tries to write a program in QBasic, which is what I did this weekend. So let's have a look. Okay, so these are all my functions and my subroutines. Now, back in the day, I did not know how to write a function. But here's me writing functions because I know the concept of a function. Look at how many there are. They're a crazy amount of them. This program only reads in text files and edits them and generates title screens, and yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot. In fact, we're not going to walk through it because it's boring. Frankly, it's boring. But I learned that, see, this is my main routine. There's nothing going on here because I broke everything up. Breaking everything up in QBasic is hard because for someone like me, I want to call them big long names, but when you get a function called getFileForContinueString, I mean, that's using up 1/5 of the width of your monitor. That's tough to deal with. And look at this one, generate and show title. That's going off the screen, and it's only got 4 parameters. So I learned very quickly that some of the ways that we name things today aren't really conducive to 640, 480 screens in QBasic. And now let's pretend I wanted to walk you through this. It's not going to be fun. Not going to be fun for you because I got things like get parameter as int. You have absolutely no context for this. We could go through it and I could show you where I'm using it in my code, but it's not going to be a nice sequential overview. It's going to be, you know, a short piece of code, but every line in the code makes all these calls to everything else and they branch off to the side and we don't get to see it in one long continuous nice thing to do an episode on. Not that we want to, because this is boring. Wait for seconds. When we want to remove an entry from a file, let's do this. Not only is this not fun to look at, this is really confusing, and there's no graphics, of course. This is all just data manipulation. And so I learned that while I make fun of myself, my 16 and 17-year-old self, for kind of the way I wrote programs, I realized that it's easier to follow and easier to do these old code walkthrough videos, because the way I coded back then was extremely linear and extremely simple. As in, I wanted to do something, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but generally I started to write code and I never erased anything. I just wrote code and seemed to do things as they came to me, as I thought it would be a good thing to do. And so what happens is a nice bit of code to follow through and read through. And I realized this could never happen with code today. And it can never happen with QBasic code written in today's style. So that's really just what I wanted to share with you. You'll see this program function in the next episode and in subsequent episodes as I use it. The only piece of interesting stuff is how I generate the title. And I have to, what I do is I create the strings, and then I calculate the lengths of the strings in pixels, because I want to center each line in the screen pixel perfect. And so I have to do some calculations of y coordinates, and then here I'm getting the lines, I'm clearing the screen, finding a y offset and putting the lines. Then I'm waiting for 3 seconds, and I'm going to increase this to 5 because I should. Anyway, that is the new program I wrote called AIOC, Adventures in Old Code, and you will see that in action shortly. So thanks for joining me in this adventure in new code. Sorry we didn't get to see anything awesome today. Hopefully we'll see something awesome next time. Thank you for joining me. Have a nice day, and we'll see you next time for more adventures in old code.